This afternoon, we're very pleased to be able to introduce to you Dr. Jenny Brockis, and I'll get to read about her because I never remember it. Jenny is a qualified medical practitioner. She's a keynote speaker, an author, a mentor and director of BrainFit. She's long been fascinated by the brain and human behavior, and she set out on a quest to show people how they can optimize their own brain health and get better results in everything they do. Well, I don't know about you, but I could certainly do with a little better brain health. So here's Dr. Jenny Brockis. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Sue, and thank you to everybody for inviting me to come along and speak to you today about my favourite topic, brain fitness. I want to start off by asking you a question. What do Lisa Whiteman, Robert de Castella, and Haile Gebrselassie have in common? They're marathon runners, thank you very much. They have honed their physical fitness to become masters of endurance running. What if you could enhance your brain fitness so that you could perform to the best of your ability every single day? What difference would that make to your lives? Because have you ever had that situation where sometimes you forget stuff? Where you always had the intention that you would remember, but somehow it just didn't eventuate. And have you ever had that time where you just lost a bit of focus and become completely distracted? And have you ever had that time where you've made a mistake? Not intentionally again, but sometimes these things just happen. So I want to share with you today some insights that I have gleaned from the neuroscience that can help each and every one of us enhance our own level of brain fitness. Would that be all right to share that with you? Absolutely. Okay. So what is brain fitness? People often say to me, Jenny, what is it you actually do? And I say, well, I work with people to help them optimise their own brain so that they get better results in everything they do, regardless of circumstance. Better memory, better recall, better stress management so you can cope with all of life's little curveballs that come flying out of left field. But of course, brain fitness isn't something that we have. I mean, I'm hoping everybody brought along their brain today. And I always travel with a spare brain because I always find it's really useful to have a spare one on site just in case. But we know that brain fitness, just like physical fitness, isn't something that we're endowed with naturally. But we can choose to elevate our level of brain fitness. So we have one of these, a beautiful, magnificent brain. And the importance of learning about brain fitness today is because our world is changing so much. We know that we've become incredibly busy. Doesn't matter who you talk to, everybody is busy, busy, busy all the time. And this state of constant busyness puts an enormous challenge and strain on our brain. Trying to keep up with everything can be a challenge at the best of times. And if you're not feeling very well, that adds to an even greater level of challenge. So by learning the principles of what it takes to become more brain fit, you already have the tools available to you then to know what to do when things aren't going quite according to plan. And the good thing is, they're easy to learn, they're not expensive, and all it requires from you is a little bit of time and perseverance. So as a GP, of course, I worked a lot with people on a one-to-one basis. And why do I teach brain fitness? Because I got increasingly frustrated with the medical model, which always treats the outcome of when things have gone wrong. And to me, it made much more sense to look at promoting well-being, how to promote wellness in our community. Because if we can start from there, then we're better prepared to cope with things when they challenge us. I want to start off with a very quick quiz, just a couple of questions, just to see what you know already about the brain. Because there's a lot of myth about brains out there. So just tell me, true or false, do we only use 10% of our brain?
No.
No, I'm very glad you said that. You said that very convincingly as well. No, it's not true, but it's an old chestnut that's been around for over 100 years. We actually use 100% of our brain all the time. Now, are you right brain or left brain? Hands up all the left brain people here. Hands up all the what? Hands up who's a bit of both. Yay. Now the myth is that you're either one or the other. And I had a young girl come up to me after one of my presentations one day. She said, Jenny, can you please tell me what I need to do to switch on the right side of my brain? And I said, excuse me? And she actually believed that she was only operating on half of her system. And I said, no. You've got two hemispheres. They're working perfectly well all the time. It's just that sometimes we haven't developed the full capacity of both. But our hemispheres talk to each other all the time. In fact, as we age, they talk even more to each other, which is probably the basis of our wisdom. True or false? Do librarians have a lower incidence of dementia?
Yes.
Who said that? You?
No. No.
Are you a librarian? It's not true.
No.
There's no correlation between being a librarian and reducing your risk of dementia. But it is true that the higher your level of mental education, the lower your risk. And I'm not talking about how many degrees you have or how long you spent at school. Everybody who's in Australia pretty much has a fairly good level of social education to keep everything working okay. What about this? Does our capacity to learn reduce as we get older? No. Oh, also said with conviction, definitely not. Yes, things do change a little bit as we get older, and that's really to do with the speed of processing. It's a bit harder work to take the information in and to make it stick, but you're perfectly capable of learning across the entire lifespan. And what about this? Multitasking, does it save us time?
No.
No, why not?
Because at our age we can't multitask.
It doesn't matter what your age is.
You can only do one thing at a time.
You can only do one thing at a time. But so many people think that they're saving time by trying to do lots of things simultaneously. And yes, we can do things at the same time that don't require focused attention.
Does that mean you shouldn't knit and watch the TV at the same time?
Well, it depends what you're paying attention to. A lot of people do knitting on automatic. You don't have to pay attention to it, so that's fine. If it was me, I'd have to be focusing on the knitting because I'm not a knitter and I wouldn't be able to hear what's going on the television. You can only pay focused attention to one thing at a time. Now, in 2011, a very important paper was published, and I was surprised it didn't hit the media headlines a bit more because everybody's talking about the fact that we've got a tsunami of Alzheimer's and dementia occurring because of our rapidly increasing ageing population. Now, this paper looked at all the research that had been done to see what would make the biggest difference to preserving brains, maintaining our intellect. And they discovered that actually up to 50% of all the people who are diagnosed with Alzheimer's could potentially be avoided. 50%. And this is all to do with lifestyle. And lifestyle is the basis of brain fitness. So,
But doesn't the amyloid build up in the brain?
It can do.
They would have no control of that. A person would have no control.
you can influence it by your choices of lifestyle. These are the top 7 modifiable risks that they identified. Now, low education is not an issue in Australia, but what about the others? How many people do you know that might be influenced by some of these conditions? I mean, smoking, that's a choice. But physical inactivity, depression, midlife, high blood pressure, diabetes, and obesity. And we have to ask ourselves, well, why does it matter about being brain fit? What matters to us about using our brain? And a group did a survey a couple of years ago and asked about 1,500 people, what aspects of your thinking matters the most to you? And they gave them 10 different things to choose from. And the top 2 things that came up were these. Being able to manage a stressful situation and being able to manage all those pesky distractions. Because I don't know about you, but I find that my life life is increasingly distracted. I'm trying to pay focused attention to one thing, and yet I'm being pulled away by half a dozen other things that are occurring around about me. So I want to talk to you a little bit about your brain. There's no gory bits. I didn't bring a spare real brain with me. I'm sorry. But your brain is such a remarkable organ. It's unique. No other person in the universe has the same brain as you. It's highly complex. And the good thing is it's really trainable. Just like puppy dogs, you can take it to brain training classes and improve how well your brain works for you, which is good news, because of a certain aspect about our brain that we have learned about over the last 100 years. Now, it's talked a lot about the fact we have 100 billion neurons. Well, in fact, a very clever lady scientist in Italy did a head count. Literally. She made brain soup and used a very special machine to count how many brain cells we have, and she came up with this answer. We have 85 billion brain cells in our heads. And what's even more remarkable about these brain cells is that they're all separate entities, but they can all connect with each other. And it is our connectivity that provides us with what we call a plastic brain. Neuroplasticity is the one most important aspect concerning our brain that we have learned about. And we have to thank this fellow, Santiago Ramon y Cajal, the only Spanish I speak, apart from playing. Santiago always wanted to be an artist, but his parents had other ideas. They made him go off to medical school to become a doctor. But he was able to use his love of drawing to use a very simple brass microscope and draw brain cells that we now know today as neurons. And his discovery, which earned him a Nobel Prize in 1906, was the fact that they formed these connections. Our brain is dynamic. It's constantly changing. We are constantly rewiring our brain so we can change the way we think. So all the time you are sitting here taking in some information, your brain is forming a new connection with other brain cells. And the more connections you form, the more neural pathways you can form, the more pathways you form, you create a high level of what we call cognitive reserve. Cognitive reserve is a bit like having spare brain power. And the more reserve you've got, the better placed you are to use your brain in tip-top condition for longer, just like the Duracell button. This Hebb's law. Every time you learn something new, learn a new skill, develop a new habit, you're forming new neural pathways and forming those new connections. And the more you practice, the more you strengthen those pathways and the thicker they become. They turn from little country roads into super highways that require less stimulus to make them happen really, really fast. So what we want to do when we're elevating our brain fitness is promoting our natural ability to use our plastic brains and form more connections. So it's a natural process. It's happening all the time. You don't have to do anything to make your brain plastic. It's already there. But you can enhance your brain's plasticity. And your brain's even more clever in that it also gets rid of the connections you don't need anymore. It uses it like a giant pair of secateurs and prunes away all the dead wood. Those connections which no longer serve any useful purpose. Do you remember what you learnt in the geography class in year 10? No, me neither. So we get rid of what no longer serves a useful purpose to us, and that frees up more space to form more connections for more useful things. So we need to build ourselves a brain fitness kit. What do we need to do in order to do that? Well, being more brain fit means we're more flexible with our thinking. And as we age, sometimes that flexibility becomes a bit stiffer. So if I show you this and say, well, push the red button, which one do you think you're going to press?
A lot of people do the green one.
A lot of people would instantly press the green one by mistake, because we just take that little half second later to think, oh no, she said press the green button. And we also use tests like this called the Stroop test. a psychological test that's been used for ages, and it's a great test of mental flexibility. If I ask you to read the top line of those words, can you do that? Okay, just read them out loud for me. What does it say?
Blue, yellow, red, green.
Very good. Okay.
It's
And
totally
now-
wrong.
Sorry?
It's all totally wrong.
Well, what I'm going to ask you to do now is, instead of reading the word, read the colour that it's written in. So instead of saying blue, you will say red. Okay. So are you ready to do it now?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to start with just the top line, just reading the colour of the word, not the name of the word. And off you go.
Red, green, violet,
Okay, very good. Blue. You ready to do the whole lot?
Yeah.
As fast as you can? Now, in the colours, we've got to read the colours, not the word. You ready?
What is the last colour of what did you say?
What you've got is pale.
I would say that's
One's mauve.
yes, red, green, blue, purple.
Oh, blue.
Is that all right? Okay, off we go. It's red, green, blue, purple, green, blue, orange, yellow, yellow, blue, yellow.
Orange. That's hard. There's a green. It's hard to make the difference.
It is. You can do it. It just takes you that little bit of time to do it. And of course, the faster you try to do it, the harder it is as well. But if I got you to do this half a dozen times, you would get really quick at it, really quickly. So you can improve your mental flexibility very, very simply.